want to go across now to Sandeep Dikshit, senior Congress leader in Delhi, son of former Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit, also multiple times member of Parliament from the East Delhi constituency. Sandeep ji, welcome. It's good to have you with us back on television after a long time. The Congress thought it was on the comeback trail on the back of the Lok Sabha elections and that this would rub off on Delhi as well, where you were hoping to get back some of your mother's old vote bank, particularly amongst the Dalits and the Muslims. Now, Arvind Kejriwal's surprise announcement, do you think this could mar or push back Congress's comeback chances in the capital?
But I think his whole thing is a lot of dance and drama, nothing else really. And I think he's trying to extricate himself from a very impossible situation that he's created for himself. It comes out of three or four things. One is, if you just take a deeper look into the judgment that the Supreme Court gave. One part is that he got a bail, and that's good. I mean, I am always in support of bail. And I normally think that anybody, until unless he or she is prosecuted by the court, should get bail as soon as possible, and jail should only be an exception. So that's a part we welcome. But what was surprising was that unlike in the case of, because there were two chief ministers who were given bail within a matter of a month of each other, Hemant Soren, when he got his bail, was reinstated as a full chief minister with all his powers restored to him. There was no if and buts with regard to bail. But in his case, what is it that the Supreme Court said? Supreme Court said you cannot look at files. Supreme Court said you cannot go to office. Supreme Court said you cannot take any decision as a chief minister. Basically, in normal administrative parlance, we call that the officers got suspended. So he was basically a chief minister only in name. He could have his bungalow, he could have his cars, but he was mainly made what is called a kind of a nalayak chief minister. So I think what the Supreme Court clearly indicated is that in your current condition and the way in which your cases are, Supreme Court thought you are unfit to be a chief minister. Otherwise, there's nothing else that explains all these restrictions coming on Kejriwal. So having realized that, I think Kejriwal thought that since there is nothing to enjoy in the post of a chief minister, it's not a bad idea to also do a bit of nautanki and kind of resign in that. The second question you asked is how does this impact the Congress's chances? I think our resurgence in Delhi, and while we of course fought with Aam Aadmi, I think a large part of the fact that we performed fairly strongly in many of the seats, although we lost all 7, but there were some seats in which we came, at least the 3 seats that we got pretty close. Margins were about 1.5 lakh and not the kind that would have been expected. Is that there was a reconfidence of people wanting to bring back the Congress as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned in Delhi. I think in that sense we put up a fairly decent performance. Unfortunately, in the 4 seats we did not fight. While our people were supporting Aam Aadmi, we could have probably built our base a little more. So that will be a bit of a negative factor. But I think the good thing for us is that people now realize that Congress is a force in Delhi. And I think that's something that's going to help us really greatly. We are also fairly effectively targeting both Aam Aadmi and BJP. And clearly, I don't think, just a last point I wanted to make, I don't think there's anybody in Delhi who does not admit to the fact that the last 10 years have actually been a great disaster in Delhi. So the only party that is being talked about, and as I said, it is Mrs. Dikshit who is being talked about in Delhi, almost as if it's a kind of a natural reaction to what's happening. I think that is something we need to cash on.
At Rahul Gandhi's nudging, a few days ago, the Congress was trying to ally with the Aam Aadmi Party in Haryana. Now these parties will be competing against each other. Are you concerned that the AAP could cut into the anti-BJP vote? We already saw that when AAP came in as a third force in Gujarat, the Congress was reduced to a rump. The BJP did better than it did even at the time when Prime Minister Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat. So they've hammered your party in Delhi. They did the same in Punjab and even in a state like Gujarat where they traditionally haven't been strong. So are you concerned that could next happen in Haryana?
Right. See, that possibility is always there, and I think that's one of the reasons why Aam Aadmi Party is fighting 90 seats in Haryana. And, although there is nothing to support in terms of physical or concrete evidence, but there is a suspicion that maybe the reason why Manish Sisodia and Kejriwal were left off, I mean, this could be a quid pro quo that's happening. But as I said, Having said that, there's not really any evidence, but there is a lot of suspicion to that. But I think what's happened in Haryana, from whatever I get as a feedback from my colleagues in the Congress, from people who are coming in from Haryana, from a lot of journalists, is that the decisive vote that is making the Congress do very, very well, and I'm sure we are winning in Haryana, is so large that, a little trouble that Aam Aadmi Party could cause is not going to change that vote. So Haryana in this case, because even last time I think they got about less than 0.5% of the vote. You see, Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal have one credibility, and I give it to them, is that they can project a far greater, larger than life image. Many people call him as the next Prime Minister. In many states, every time they start an election, the people say that they are a great challenge, and except for Gujarat and one or two other states, they haven't been able to do much. So that credit I must give to them, but I don't think they'll be able to succeed in Haryana. Haryana, according to me, is almost a foregone conclusion.
Kejriwal is trying now to re-establish his connect with the Aam Aadmi, the Basti, the slum dweller, which was once the core of the Congress vote, is now at the heart of the AAP's vote bank. How do you hope to get it back? Because your hope was to try and bring that vote back to the Congress party. He now has the opportunity between September till February to re-establish himself, to throw himself back, to live in the juggies, to move away from the Chief Minister's house, and to try and ward off the effects of 10 years of anti-incumbency.
No, that's okay. I'm sure that is something any self-respecting politician would do. So I'm not surprised by that. But Rahulji, there is a difference between 2014 and 2024. There are 10 years of a rule. Even if basically I would call it a misrule, but there are 10 years of that misrule. There are now allegations, whether some people believe it or not, but there are very clear cases of allegations against this gentleman. He has been in jail for a long while. Congress has no longer got the same lack of credibility that we had in 2013 and 14. We have also conversed in 2013. Entire world believed that there is no party as corrupt as the Congress, and Delhi was part of that. In the last 11 years, it is not the Congress, but it is the other parties that have proved that the Congress's governance of 15 years was almost blameless as far as corruption is concerned. You may remember, I don't want to actually quote that, but since the question has come up, the Honorable Prime Minister in one of his statements during the elections had said that he was very, very surprised when something had been raised about Mrs. Dikshit. The Finance Minister said that where have those 350 pages of allegations gone, which were nothing but buncombe against Mrs. Dikshit. So I think Congress has been able to, unfortunately without our own efforts, been able to at least establish our credibility that, look, we did do a lot of good things in Delhi. So I think Congress is being seen in a very different light. Kejriwal is not the Kejriwal of 2014. And therefore, I think it's a great opportunity for the Congress, because we've been out of the misgovernance of Delhi for the last 10 years. BJP has played a part of it. Aam Aadmi Party has played a far larger part of that. I think if we are able to revoke the images of what Delhi was 10 to 12 years ago, combine it with a fresher outlook that we can give to people, I don't think Kejriwal is going to be the same person that even the poorest are going to look at. Yes, there is that free fund part of it, what Prime Minister calls Revdi, what many people call doles, what I called muftkhori. That part is there, and that will attract some people, because that is the only thing that is keeping him, at least with some toehold in Delhi. But remember, once that is a part that we can breach, Aam Aadmi Party will be history.
Sandeep Dikshit, as I hear you speak, as I hear the likes of Ajay Makhanji speak, Delhi Congress leaders seem to have a very clear anti-AAP position, whether it is for Delhi or even for other states like Haryana and Punjab. However, your leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi's opinion on this seems to be different. He, in fact, was pushing for an AAP Congress alliance in Haryana. It didn't ultimately materialize, but he thought this would help ensure that the opposition votes did not split. How do you see the anti-AAP strident position that you are taking with the more macro, let's keep the India alliance together position that Mr. Gandhi seems to be taking?
Well, I think I'm not exactly sure what his statement was or what he really meant. But you see, I take it at two levels. And I take it from the logic at which we came together in the India alliance. And for me, the logic of many parties, including Aam Aadmi Party, coming close to the Congress was that the Congress and some of our friendly opposition parties identified that the BJP is misruled, and the fact that the Prime Minister has not been able to perform in 10 years it is important for us to remove both the Prime Minister and the Bharatiya Janata Party as far as the national elections are concerned. Which is why everybody who believed in that was allowed to come into a broader umbrella. We also had a set and series of new policies that we would initiate, which we thought will counter what the damage that the BJP is doing. And therefore a very, very broad consensus. And that's why a lot of parties who wanted to join into that bandwagon came. Aam Aadmi Party in some senses changed its stance from what it used to be earlier, because you may remember at one time Kejriwal used to say Modi as Prime Minister and me as Chief Minister. I think he had changed his stance. It may have been just temporarily for about 6 months or so. The same logic applies to Delhi, because here we identify the Aam Aadmi to be the decisive party that has destroyed Delhi. And nobody can say that Delhi has not been destroyed. I think it's only the Andhbhakt of Aam Aadmi Party who may publicly announce something differently. But almost everything that is in Delhi today is in crumbles. And therefore for us, the way and the manner and the policy and the outlook at which we identified Mr. Modi and the BJP as a party to be removed at the national level, that logic applies, and therefore the person who has to be taken out of Delhi for the people of Delhi and for the governance of Delhi is Arvind Kejriwal. So I think in that sense, I don't think there will be any disconnect between the way we are thinking, who are local leaders in Delhi, and our national leaders.
Okay, we'll leave it over there. Interesting perspectives from Sandeep Dikshit from the Congress, and before that from Masuri Swaraj of the BJP and Saurabh Bhardwaj of the Aam Aadmi Party. Thank you very much, Mr. Dikshit, for joining us. Appreciate you taking out time. You're not very frequent on television, so I appreciate that you took out time to speak to us tonight.